Our Senator Ted Cruz joining us right now. Appreciate you making time, Senator. I've been seeing you on the cables, Newsmax, and other places. You got a new book related to all wokery and stupidity that's in our culture today. So tell me all about it.
Well, Sergio, good morning. Good to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir.
You're right. Today I have a brand new book that came out today. It is called UNWOKE, How to Defeat Cultural Marxism in America. And it describes, chapter by chapter, how the radical left has seized the major institutions of our nation. So it starts with our universities. Mm-hmm. And I call our universities the Wuhan lab of the woke virus. It's where the virus was created, it's where it mutated, and it's where it spread to the other major institutions of our country. And I detail precisely how that happened, how Marxists came in the 1960s and 70s and began taking over the faculties at elite universities. And from there, it spread to other institutions. The next chapter is K through 12 education. And I describe how critical race theory and radical left took over in elementary and high school. The next chapter is on journalism. And unfortunately, today's journalism is broken. The press is fundamentally broken. And I lay out how that happened. From there, it goes to big business and then big tech and then entertainment, Hollywood, movies, TV, sports, music, and finally to science. And in every one of them, I lay out how it happened and why. And then critically, I lay out a battle plan for how to fight back, how to take our institutions back. Because, Sergio, I know that you, like me, you look at what's happening in this country, and it is terrifying. It is infuriating what is being done to our country, and we've got to fight to take it back.
Yes, sir. And, you went to print with your book obviously before the bloodshed, the massacre of innocents in Israel. Right. And right now we are reaping the foul stench, rotted fruit of this leftism, this Marxism, these America haters, capitalism haters, Jew haters, and we see them on campuses and in the streets all over our nation. And there you go. That is the fruit of this leftist seed in American academia all these years. Man, it's like you could write a whole new chapter on what's taking place right now.
Well, you're absolutely right. We are seeing with these rabidly anti-Israel and anti-Semitic protests on college campuses across the country, violent protests that are harassing and threatening Jewish students on campus. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting down talking with a very successful tech entrepreneur from Silicon Valley who leans left. And he was expressing bewilderment at this vicious anti-Semitism that we're seeing in the House of Representatives, from the Squad, and our college campuses. And I explained what you just said, Sergio, that this is the direct result of the cultural Marxists. So Marx framed everything as an inevitable and unavoidable battle between oppressors and victims. And he framed it socioeconomically, where the oppressors were the owners of capital and the victims were the proletariat, the workers. And his solution was a violent revolution of the proletariat where they overthrow the owners of capital and they use government and force to redistribute the wealth from the oppressors to the victims. And what the cultural Marxists have done is they've applied that same frame, except they've applied it to race, framing this country as an inevitable battle between races. They've applied it to gender and sexual orientation and gender identity. And when it comes to what's happening in Israel, the reason the left is so viciously anti-Israel is they have coded Jews as oppressors, and they have coded the Palestinians as the victims. Yeah. And so the result is they support the violent revolution of the victims, forcibly redistributing and taking from the oppressors. And it's vicious and it's indefensible, but it is exactly what you said, the rotted fruit of this poisonous tree.
Our Senator Ted Cruz joining us, and we're addressing all the issues of wokery. It's a new book related to all this. But Ted, the top issues that people do not pay attention to. And I was addressing this with another friend who checked in earlier, and I'll play that conversation today or tomorrow. On this election day, on this election day, and this is nothing new. I mean, this goes back way back a couple of centuries. The American people are not informed enough. They don't take the time to look at the top issues that they're voting for. It is always seems to be populism or personality that trumps principle. Like today, for example, we're looking at Kentucky and Andy Beshear, the very popular, they keep saying very popular Democrat governor. Well, where the heck are these conservatives and people defending traditional values and principles? Why the hell are you voting in a Democrat that's going to veto everything that comes at them from a conservative legislature in that state? People vote personality, people vote for populism, and they do not vote principle. And that scares me. That's been for the longest time. It's worse now than ever before at a time when we have potentially lethal national death, the open border invasion that's taking place, the diluting of our currency, the cultural perversion that's taking place in society. All of that is enhanced or promoted by the Democrat Party, the modern Democrat Party, and people continue to vote stupidly.
Well, Sergio, you're exactly right, and the causes of that are exactly what's addressed in this new book, UNWOKE, where what is driving that. Number one, you've got journalism, and journalism is fundamentally broken. The corporate media is corrupt. They're no longer trying to be impartial. They're not trying to present both sides. Instead, Donald Trump broke the media, and they view their job today as advocates. The media is rooting in Kentucky for the Democrat governor to be reelected. That's who the media wants. And every story they cover, every adjective they use, every story they refuse to cover is directed towards driving a political objective. Big tech wants the Democrat to win. And every story they amplify is directed towards helping the Democrat to win. Every story they suppress is directed to helping the Democrat win. Likewise, entertainment. Look, you look at Hollywood, you look at movies and TV and music, all of that is directed. It's now ideological. And what the cultural Marxists are doing is they're using culture to push their agenda and to push it aggressively. And so the solution is frankly what you're doing right now, Sergio. What I argue in this book, every chapter, I lay out what we do about it. And a big part of it is sunlight and transparency. Listen, the ideas of the radical left are wildly unpopular. No one in their right mind supports abolishing the police. No one in their right mind supports the open borders and chaos we have at our southern border. No one in their right mind supports medically sterilizing 8-year-old children and surgically castrating them. Yeah. Those are 90-10 issues with the vast majority of Americans thinking that's nutty. So how do they happen? They happen because the radical left has seized the organs of transmission of ideas, and we need to shine a light, and we need to exercise power. And part of exercising power is showing up at the ballot box and voting the bums out.
I was complaining about this on a Monday morning when people are working for a living, and I understand they're busy and they got kids and they got bills and they got careers and all that. I get it. I understand. I'm there. But like, for example, on a Monday morning, ABC, CBS, NBC, all the major networks, what took place on a Saturday and Saturday night at the White House, the protests, the pro-Hamas protests for many of these individuals. It wasn't pro-Palestinian. Yes. It was pro-Hamas. All this radicalism, this vandalism, the attacks on Secret Service, all that, none of that got airplay on a Monday morning. People should be reviewing what took place this past weekend, and people going uninformed yet again on another top issue. People they'd be demanding answers. They'd be calling their representatives had they seen the mess that took place this past weekend in Washington.
You're absolutely right, but CNN won't cover it. MSNBC won't cover it. ABC, CBS, NBC, they won't cover it. I drove by the White House last night. We saw a violent assault on the White House. In fact, when we were driving by, I was in the car doing an interview, and the interviewer said it's not safe to get out at the White House because there could still be Hamas protesters there today. Think how sad that is, that at 9 o'clock at night, it was not safe to get out by the White House in Washington, D.C. That is a testament to just how much things have gone off track, and the media deliberately doesn't want you to hear this. And look, this book is not an abstract academic tone. It is filled with real world stories, and it explains how and why this is happening. So it starts with my family story. As you know, my father was born and grew up in Cuba, and he fought in the Cuban Revolution. He fought alongside Fidel Castro. And my dad talks about, he was 14 when he started fighting in the revolution. And he said, listen, that's who the revolution was, a bunch of 14 and 15-year-old boys. And Marxists always start with the kids. If you look at every communist revolution, it is teenagers who are young and idealistic and filled with passion, but they also have no world experience. They don't have wisdom, and they're easily deceived. And that's why Marxists target the kids. And I tell the story, as you know, my father was imprisoned. He was tortured in Cuba. My aunt, my tia Sonia, was imprisoned and tortured by Castro's goons in Cuba. But I tell the story about my grandmother, my abuela. She was a sixth grade teacher. And when Castro took over in 1959, one of the very first things he did is he sent his soldiers into the elementary schools and into the kindergartens and first grades. And the soldiers would tell the kids, they'd say, close your eyes and pray to God for candy. And the kids would all do so.
Yeah.
They'd open their eyes, there'd be no candy.
Yeah.
Then the soldiers would say, close your eyes and pray to Fidel Castro for candy. And the kids would do so, and the soldiers would quietly slip a piece of candy on every student's desk. That is what Marxism does.
Yes, sir. There's a special place in hell for people like that. Listen, I know I got seconds with
Amen.
you. Hear me out real quick. Again, the book is UNWOKE, How to Defeat Cultural Marxism in America. New book from Ted Cruz. Go look for it. Senator, please help us.
Go to Amazon and buy it today.
Help us on the water situation, Senator. Mexico, again, 2 years behind on delivery. We got local growers here in South Texas about to get their growing kick next planting season and growing season. Billions of dollars in losses because Mexico is not delivering its water. We need a new minute in the IBWC treaty. Help us, please. We need a resolution. Make some noise on this thing because no one is helping us.
Well, Sergio, as you know, I forced a vote on the Senate floor last week on it. I had an amendment to direct the State Department to lean in aggressively to Mexico to meet their treaty obligations.
Yeah, under Joe Biden.
And I got a bipartisan majority on the Senate floor. I got 7 Democrats to join me. Good.
Keep pushing, Senator, because it's bad. The forecast is awful. It's bone dry.
Yes.
And God help us. Yes. We're in bad situation. Thank you, Ted. Big hug to you.
I'm leading the fight to get Mexico to provide the water that they owe America.
Yeah, that's what we need.
They owe the Rio Grande Valley.
Yes, sir. We got to write that over and get the farmers their water. Thank you, Ted. Our Senator Ted Cruz, again, his book, UNWOKE, How to Defeat Cultural Marxism in America.